It's fun, it's cheap, it's quick and easy to buy. You're going out for dinner this weekend. Why not buy a new top online on your lunch break and have it in your hands tomorrow? This is fast fashion. It's the dominant trend in the fashion industry since the 1990s, and it's destroying the planet. Fast fashion is a way of making, marketing, and selling clothes that treats them as cheap, disposable items to be bought on a whim and thrown away after a few wears.
The majority of the fashion industry is now employing this model of fast fashion. It's everywhere around us.
Fast fashion's aim is to get you to buy as much clothing as possible, as often as possible.
It relies on people over-consuming.
The garments are made as cheaply as possible. This means they can be poor quality and are often made using exploitative labour practices.
2/3 of all our clothes we produce in a year is actually becoming waste.
Due to fast fashion, we're buying and throwing away more clothes than ever before. But what's the harm? This mountain of clothes is threatening to destroy our planet, creating huge amounts of pollution, emissions and waste that all adds up to a gigantic global problem.
Since the 90s, it has just grown exponentially.
It's easier to pretend that the problem doesn't exist, even though it very much does.
Despite being a small country, Ireland has its own part to play in the fast fashion global crisis. We wanted to understand what Irish people thought about fast fashion and how aware they were of its environmental impacts.
The industry is pretty much fast fashion today, I would say.
Production at a really high level.
Things that are made very quickly overnight.
Low quality textile that people can buy cheap.
Huge quantities that it's really unnecessary.
Not very eco-friendly, I guess.
It has really big environmental effects.
Essentially an unsustainable industry.
We also wanted to understand the scale of the issue. So we asked people, how often do they buy new clothing?
I buy new clothes now and then.
As often as I can. If I can't buy them, well,
once every month, I'd say.
I don't buy a lot of clothes, no.
I buy something every week.
Maybe every 2 or 3 months.
You want to treat yourself. Treat myself and buy something new.
Fast fashion might be cheap and fun, but the way we're encouraged to consume it means it's often thrown out after just a few wears. But in the last 20 years, the amount of clothing being produced has almost doubled, with most of it thrown away after less than 1 year. So why is it that we buy so much when it's clear we don't need it or value it? The answer lies in a sophisticated global marketing machine.
It's affordable, it's accessible, and it's super trend driven. So the whole idea of fast fashion is that you can constantly be consuming new products, being on trend, and you can buy them for really low prices as well.
Much like the junk food industry, fast fashion marketers have a whole range of tactics that are designed to trigger our brains into craving fast fashion. Their playbook is designed to get us to enjoy the easy, fun process of buying clothes more than we actually enjoy wearing them.
It's easier than ever now to buy a fast fashion garment, like whether I walk 5 minutes down the road, I'm in front of my next fast fashion store, or whether I pull out my phone, I could have an order on the way to my house in 30 seconds. Buying a fast fashion garment is just kind of that kind of hit of, instant gratification. It's not that different to maybe the feeling you might get like having an ice cream or a glass of wine or whatever you consider a treat.
We don't need to be buying as much as we're buying. Industry is encouraging it, and then also the kind of advertising around it as well is hugely encouraging this kind of overconsumption that's part of the fast fashion model.
It relies on people over-consuming. It relies on people not investing price-wise. If the prices are low, you're going to buy it and then you're going to buy again and again.
So with social media now at the forefront of consumption, influencers are doing these massive hauls and you can see 10 to 20 bags of clothing. They try on 20 to 30 outfits, and of course young consumers, all consumers, are seeing that and thinking, oh, I now need to go out and have all of those outfits as well and have all those t-shirts in all of those different colours.
Fast fashion marketing is pretty much unescapable. I mean, it's on the buses, it's on the billboards, it's on social media, it's on TV, it's on print media, it's literally everywhere you turn. And I think as a young person, you're particularly kind of vulnerable to marketing tactics like that. They have it so perfectly timed that the emails to your inbox come on payday. And then the subject line will literally say, this is a payday deal, come spend your wages with us.
Fast fashion allows you to just buy these abundance of things that you just don't need, but you think that you need.
They're only in for like a few weeks or a few months, and then they're out of fashion again, and then you don't wear them.
And the result of this incessant marketing? 120 billion items of clothing produced every year, releasing more CO2 than the entirety of the European Union. In Ireland, we throw away 110,000 tonnes of textiles every year. That's more than the weight of 9,600 Dublin buses every single year. But this mountain of clothing isn't just a waste problem. It has hugely detrimental effects on the environment at every stage of the process, from growing the raw materials, to dyeing them, to manufacturing, shipping, washing at home, and finally, even after disposal. Let's look at a typical pair of jeans. Everyone has at least one pair of jeans in their wardrobe, and they're worn the world over. About 2 billion pairs are bought every year. Jeans are generally made from denim, which in turn is made from cotton. It takes approximately 700 grams of cotton to produce a single pair of jeans. Growing this amount of cotton requires up to 10,000 litres of water. That's about 40,000 cups of tea. Pesticides and herbicides are also necessary for this process, which can cause local pollution. Next, it is harvested. The vast majority of cotton is harvested in countries with poor labour protections, where the work is done by the underpaid, the overworked, and sometimes even by children. After being harvested, the cotton is transported to a factory where it's woven into yarn. Typically, plastic fibres are added at this stage of the process to increase comfort and flexibility. However, this makes the cotton non-biodegradable and much more difficult to recycle. The yarn is then dyed blue, with the dye made from petroleum byproducts and chemicals. In Bangladesh, researchers found traces of this dye in fruit and vegetables being grown for human consumption near factories. This yarn is then woven into sheets of denim, which are manufactured into jeans. Once the jeans have been made, some pairs are given further treatment for that distressed look. Acid washing jeans is a popular process, but it has been known to turn entire rivers blue with its toxic runoff. Another popular process is sandblasting jeans, which has been linked to incurable cancers and silicosis in the workers undertaking this process. Finally, they must be then packaged, usually in plastic, and transported across the globe before they arrive in your local shop. Or, in the case of online retailers, they arrive at a warehouse before being transported again to your home. Once the jeans are in your home, they release microplastics into the water every single time they're washed. Originally, jeans were developed for miners and those undertaking heavy labour. They were supposed to be durable and to last for years of heavy use. However, fast fashion practices mean that a typical pair of jeans now only lasts a year. Once in the landfill, the decomposition process releases methane gas. Methane is known to be at least 25 times more potent than CO2 when it comes to driving global warming. The dyes that have caused pollution during the manufacturing phase and the plastics that have been continuously released during the washing cause further environmental damage as they leach into the local environment and groundwater. All in all, a typical pair of jeans emits 33.4 kilograms of CO2 in its lifetime, from when the cotton is first grown, through manufacturing, distribution, consumer washing, and finally disposal. With 2 billion pairs purchased on average every single year, that could add up to 66.8 million tonnes of CO2, more than Ireland as a whole emitted in 2021, just from denim jeans alone.
Most of us might not realise that we're actually buying a garment that has been made in this system. It can be sometimes hard to fathom that actually by buying this piece of clothing you're actually contributing to that.
And then it's being produced in some faraway land where it's easier to pretend that the problem doesn't exist, even though it very much does.
The fast fashion model is very energy intensive and it has a huge carbon footprint. And because most of these products are being produced in parts of the world where they still rely on non-renewable energy sources, the carbon footprint and carbon emissions then from this leads, of course, to what is happening with climate change.
The fast fashion industry is contributing to over 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which is more than shipping and aviation combined.
And that figure is expected to grow. By 2040, it's predicted that fashion could account for more than a quarter of all global emissions. This production process isn't unique to jeans. It's similar for every one of the 120 billion garments manufactured annually. Every single garment created using fast fashion techniques has a profoundly damaging impact on our environment. And as if these effects aren't bad enough, the fast fashion industry is encouraging us to overconsume clothing, leading to vastly more quantities of clothing being created than we as a planet could ever wear.
There's a garbage truck full of textile waste being dumped every second.
When we buy clothes, we're throwing them away. And with that, of course, we tie in this disposable mindset. So a lot of people are purchasing clothes that are simply going to wear once or twice and then they get thrown away. The accessibility due to affordability is a huge influencer when it comes to what we buy and how much we're buying. Why go and purchase one item for €20 when you can purchase 4 or 5 items for €20?
But with low prices comes low quality, and then with low quality comes no lasting quality, and then you're just constantly buying the same things over and over again.
Clothing production has doubled in the last 15 years, but the amount of time that we're using the clothes that we're buying has reduced by 40%. And because the quality of the clothing that's been made in this fast fashion model has reduced hugely, more and more of it is ending up in landfill. And what is being created is these huge mountains of textile waste, clogging waterways, causing sickness and pollution. And it's not something that we think about when we're buying our clothes and we're enjoying that newness and that kind of dressing up kind of thing, you know. We're not asking anyone to stop enjoying their clothes at all. There are other ways to do it without it costing the earth, basically.
The number one thing we can all really look at is our consumption. Challenging yourself for a month, 3 months, 6 months, actually not buy anything new. And you'd be surprised that your mind actually resets and your consumption pattern from that massively changes.
There's a little bit of a mindset shift that needs to happen. People think that actually it's about buying sustainably, whereas the most sustainable thing to do is to reduce the amount of things that you're buying. The first thing that I always recommend people to do is to shop in their own wardrobe. Maybe spending an evening trying things on with different things, styling things a little bit differently, putting a belt on, you know, wearing a jacket or a shirt in a certain way. Then there's, you know, the things that you have that you're not wearing anymore because maybe there's a hole in them or there's a rip or a stain or something. So being able to repair something is a really sustainable thing to do.
As much as we need to reduce our purchasing of new clothes, the clothing industry needs to dramatically improve how it makes clothes. As consumers, we can help this revolution by choosing to buy garments that are ethically sourced with a low environmental impact. In other words, sustainable fashion.
Things change when we ask them to change and when we kind of take a stand and do things differently. I would always kind of emphasize that, like, every small thing that you do, small shift, different decision that you make, it all contributes to the wave of change that needs to happen in order for this all to shift.
Of course, fashion isn't the only consumer industry with a huge pollution problem. All across our society, too many things are being made with too little regard for the impact on our planet. There's now a global movement to rethink how we consume goods. This is called the circular economy.
When it comes to rethinking our fast fashion choices, we can eliminate nearly all of the environmental impacts when we look at circular design principles and considerations. The circular economy is our transition away from a linear economic model where we extract resources, we make a product, we use it, and we simply dispose of it. Within circular fashion, we start to look at products that are made to last, basically taking the full life cycle of a product into consideration, and most importantly, designing products that we can bring back in.
The key concept behind the circular economy is in considering not just where we get our clothes from, but also where they go after we're finished with them. So designing for the circular economy means creating garments that are easily recyclable at end of life, where they can be returned to useful materials and the cycle can begin again.
There's a huge amount of research going into like fibre to fibre recycling, things like technical clothing, technical fabrics, lyocell, leather made from mushrooms.
So looking at sustainable materials, regenerative farming practices, materials that are designed for recyclability, for reuse, for upcycling.
A sustainable garment is something that really is made to last. It's made to be worn again. It doesn't kind of feed into that cycle of you buy it this year and you buy another one the next year.
Unfortunately, many sustainably made garments are still quite expensive, and for many, it's not a choice they can afford to make. Buying second-hand clothing is an affordable, sustainable way of shopping.
I always kind of try and compare that as it's a similar price point to the fast fashion, and then to buy second-hand, peer-to-peer selling as well, the Depop and the markets on the social platforms. These are all really viable, sustainable options, and they're very, very cheap options as well.
The trends are definitely positive. People are doing like a lot of really good work to kind of highlight that even if you don't have a lot of money, there is still good options out there.
There's a whole world of second-hand clothing that's easily accessible and incredibly affordable. Vintage shops offer a curated collection of clothing. Most of it's in excellent condition, is more affordable, it comes from a time when clothes were made to last a lifetime. It's also typically cooler and more unique than most of what you'll find on the high street. Charity shops can be a good place to find clothes for every occasion, often in unworn condition. Clothing rental services are great for special occasions. Instead of spending a fortune on a dress, suit or hat that's only going to be worn once, rental services offer you the chance to simply pay for it for the day. Websites and apps such as Depop, Vinted, New, Thriftify, Facebook Marketplace, eBay and Zalando offer a massive range of clothes that you can buy for very cheap. Oftentimes, you can message the seller to get a good idea of what kind of fit they are, so you can be sure they're right for you. You can even buy high-end designer labels secondhand. Sites such as Vestiaire Collective offer guaranteed authentic clothes from top labels at discount prices.
The slow fashion movement, which is secondhand and reuse, has really taken hold.
I'd much rather go to like a charity shop or a vintage shop.
The charity shops are a really good option here.
Sometimes I buy second-hand shoes.
And I would often shop in like pre-loved and pre-worn clothing stores too.
It's cheaper, more sustainable.
You can get them for the same price as you will pay for fast fashion, but they will last longer and they will look better and they will fit better and they will feel better.
That's what I'm always looking for in charity shops, the material that you're buying, that's good quality, so it actually lasts you a few years, you know.
Not only in how it looks and the actual like trend that it's in, but in the material it's made out of. Like
something that you can't get now today that was made very well. That's still the fabric is good. It's still in pretty good shape.
Social media now has had a huge impact on the way people dress because they want to always look different.
If you find something that like it's probably only one left of it, or no one else is going to have it when you walk around.
Then we have obviously the teenagers who've taken on that influence from the social media influencers who are shopping secondhand.
I try to buy from charity shops as often as possible.
And by diverting what we call quality clothing, clothing that can be sold, that can be reused, that gives it a second life and sometimes a third life.
If we can get like multiple uses out of something, then that would be my preference.
There's a lot of clothes that go to waste, and I guess I don't really want to perpetuate that.
I want to be more concerned than I am.
That people use those kind of platforms more, like the ones where you can sell to each other, and you're not buying from a big business.
We have things like Depop and stuff like that, so that's good.
Everybody uses Depop.
Maybe we need to learn how to, fix our own, little issues, Maybe they will get us somewhere.
I'd love to see more sustainability, better conditions for the workforce, and more attention paid to the environmental impacts of that.
It needs to be a global thing. It needs to become fashionable. Like, that's what everybody's saying.
By reducing what's going to landfill, by reducing the amount of emissions that is caused by clothing being produced. So if you come into a charity shop and you're looking for a pair of jeans, you can save a lot of water and you can save a lot of the environment. So that one little change